Everyone has a secret. Maybe it's a good secret. Maybe it's a bad secret. Maybe it's a PG secret. Maybe it's a not so PG secret. Maybe it's a song by the All American Rejects. Regardless, everyone out there has a secret, myself included. However, this is one of those secrets that needed to be kept for a certain time. And given the circumstances now, is the perfect time to reveal that secret. Now, normally I would clickbait a video like this, but we're not gonna do that. So I'm just gonna be frank and say, I left Disney. For good. Now, what I mean by this is a secret that's been kept for a little while, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a little bit, but I really had to play my cards well and execute it perfectly. And I dare say I did just that. So let's rewind back to January of 2024, last year, when I came back to the Walt Disney Company as a PhotoPass photographer. Now, I didn't really talk about the fact that I was in PhotoPass very much. In fact, I don't think I talked about it at all. I did hint towards it a few times, which should have given it away. Hopefully it gave it away at this point, but I don't really know. But going into this new role, not only was I super excited for the fact that I was coming back to the Walt Disney Company, but I was even more excited about the fact that I was going into a role that I knew I could excel in. Now, as time went by, I grew to absolutely love this position, both inside and out, whether it be on stage, backstage, with a camera, without the camera, every single aspect of PhotoPass, I grew to love. But then the Fire Nation attacked. And by the Fire Nation, I'm referring to my mental health. Now, while there were days where I definitely had a lot of highs, I definitely had my share of lows as well. Now, for the sake of both myself as well as the Walt Disney Company, I'm not gonna go too far in depth as, yeah, some of it can get a little bit disturbing, not too disturbing, but in terms of mental health, yeah, I'm sure you could go from there. Now, as the summer season was starting to wrap up, unfortunately, I wasn't really working that often, which of course meant I wasn't making a whole lot of money. But unfortunately, I was not able to really do anything about that, which really put a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. And there's the cat. And it was also at that point that I was somehow still feeling very much overworked. And I think that was just the weather talking to me, but I could be wrong. However, I definitely felt like I was starting to lose my place within the PhotoPass team. And I think the main reason for that was because I was really starting to feel the redundancy of doing the PhotoPass work. And while I absolutely love photography, obviously that ties into the vlogs, it definitely got a little too redundant to where I basically lost all motivation to do anything with a camera, including this one. There were definitely a few times where I basically just thought about putting the camera away. But I didn't do that exactly. I knew I needed to figure out how to balance both the vlogging as well as PhotoPass, but I will say it was definitely one of the most challenging things I've ever done in terms of my YouTube career. And even working part-time, you know, think about back when I worked at Guardians part-time, I was able to pump out quite a bit of content at the time, whereas working PhotoPass part-time, that was not the case. In fact, I felt like I was pumping out even less content than I did when I was working full-time at Ratatouille. And let's be real, if you've known me for a while, you know that I consider YouTube to be my career. And while yes, Disney can definitely be a career for many, at the end of the day, I never ever considered it to be my career and more or less just the best job I could possibly have. And with the content that I wanted to make primarily at Disneyland, I knew I needed to make a choice as to whether or not I could really stay within PhotoPass. However, as bad luck had it, I was not able to do that. So much like that one song by Big Time Rush, I literally felt stuck. Kind of like how I feel sort of stuck in this recliner. While it is very comfy, yeah, this is no office chair. And I will say too, with the potential move to California, which obviously did not happen, I knew I needed to make another choice as to whether or not I was going to prioritize my job or my career. And it was at that point that I kind of realized that I needed to prioritize my job just a little bit more than my career, especially knowing that that job would help jumpstart my career in a completely different area. However, that plan was obviously thwarted given our new apartment still in Central Florida. So it was at that point that I knew I needed to start looking for something outside of Disney, and honestly, I didn't really care what it was because I knew at that point my time at the theme parks was basically up. Because mind you, I've been on and off with the Walt Disney Company since late 2019, and while I absolutely loved it, even to this day, I can still say that I absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, at least for me, and it obviously comes on a case-by-case basis depending on the person you are, but my time seemed to be up. And that's where we get to the good part. Now, while I can tell you I'm definitely not going to go too far into it, I can tell you guys I have never been happier. But I will say I do think there is a bit of a moral to this story, and that moral is something that we call patience. And this is something that I've talked about for a little while now. It's just have patience. As much as it pains me, as much as it might pain some of you to have patience compared to just having impulse, trust me when I say being patient will get you where you want to be. Because truth be told, there were times when I did not have any patience in terms of getting to this new job that I'm at now. But now that I think about it, I wouldn't even consider this to be a job. I would basically call this an add-on to my career, basically a DLC to it. And while I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say it's kind of weird calling it a sort of DLC, almost as weird as it is the fact that you guys are all the way back there and I'm all the way up here. So while I can definitely tell you guys that my journey with the Walt Disney Company is officially over, I can also tell you guys that this new journey with this new company is definitely going to be the greatest journey of my life. Well, aside from my future marriage with Allie. And while I will admit this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a little bit now, I will say it was definitely worth the wait. Almost how it was worth the wait finally getting our own apartment. But with all that out of the way, I'm excited. And that's all that really matters. I'm excited and I'm also grateful because this was not the opportunity that I was expecting. And that's where the patience comes into play. So I think it's safe to say we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. I might not have been fully confident in the past, but now I am 110% confident. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay beautiful. I love you guys.